What's up, people? This is Adrian, aka Signcraft. Today we are talking dynamic driver open back headphones, one of the broadest and most popular categories of the audiophile headphonosphere. We're looking at three examples to sort of exemplify this category, three standouts in the semi-reasonable price range of $100 up to $600, the Grado SR80e, the Sennheiser HD6XX, and the Focal Elex. This is a big, bold category. Let's get into it. To begin this journey, let's talk a little bit about what I mean when I say dynamic driver and open back. I made you some pictures, so check it. Two primary styles of headphones, the closed back, the open back. A lot of consumer grade stuff tends to be closed back because it's a highly functional design. You don't typically see a ton of open back stuff till you start to creep into the more audio nerdery territory. I think the benefits are fairly obvious. I think the design differences are fairly obvious, but let's just go through them real quick. Closed back. The idea here is really to provide isolation, right? To keep the outside world out and the inside audio in. This is important if you are mastering or doing critical listening, or if you just don't want people around you to hear that Sade-less album you're rocking, or if you don't want to hear them talk over your Sade album that you're rocking. On the open side, it's porous, so the audio is projecting in towards the ear, but it's also coming out because it's open. It's bleeding out into the world. The outside world's bleeding in. That seems initially just to be a worse thing, but the benefits of an open back are that you get this much broader sound stage, this much more open audio experience. Feels a bit more like listening to speakers. Feels, in my experience, a bit sort of truer. Closed, you get some potential benefits of a lot of bass. You're really controlling that listening environment, so maybe you can eke out some quiet detail. But if you're sitting in a nice, controlled, quiet environment listening to headphones, I'd rather be listening to open back. So that's what we're talking about. Dynamic driver. Okay, drivers, the things that make the noise. There are a bunch of different kinds. Planar, electrostatic, but here, dynamic. Dynamic being what you think of when you think of a speaker. When you picture a speaker, a cone, this is what you're talking about, right? It's a cone or a membrane with a magnet and a coil or a voice coil. It's exciting the magnet, it's moving the membrane is pushing air, the air is sound. Dynamic driver. Okay, so this is, one of the oldest and most common ways to make sound with electricity. Why would we care about it in this day and age when we have cool fancy stuff like planar and electrostatic and whatnot? Well, because the innovation hasn't stopped. Just because there's simple ways to make cones and cheap ways to make cones. There's also very cool new materials and geometries and things that are eking more and more performance out of them. All right. Let's start at the beginning here. We're gonna look at three headphones that sort of exemplify this category. It's not really a head-to-head comparison. It's more just sort of observations about three very different performers at different price classes, but that all share the basic same design in a way. These are all my opinions, just things I think, my reactions, my experiences over past couple decades of listening to stuff and thinking about it. So, a little love letter to the Grado Prestige series. Particularly the SR80. Grado makes a huge range of headphones from I think the SR60 at the low end for like $80-ish up to many multi-$1,000 headphones with big chunky wood and big pads and variations in driver and et cetera, et cetera. These are made in the US of A. They are made in Brooklyn. I think it's like a third generation family story now. They are made with very simplistic production techniques compared to modern standards. They don't change a lot of stuff. They don't evolve a lot of stuff. They kind of keep it. They keep true to their original design. Love it or hate it. the build quality, you know, for me is more of a hate than a love. It just feels kind of like cheap plastic, sourced, you know, metal sliders, little caps, and, you know, yucky vinyl headband. But why do I keep them? Why do I like them? Why do I recommend them to people? Why do those people come back and tell me that they like them? Because they're fun. They sound great. They sound exciting. They sound fast. They sound very forward, very direct, very warm. I think these are rock and roll headphones, right? If you like classic rock, if you like jazz, if you like vocals, things that take advantage of the mid-range, I think these things perform really well, even though at their price it feels like, why am I paying for this? But I've really enjoyed. This is the second pair I've owned of these. I think the first pair I got maybe 15-ish years ago. And when those finally got worn through, I missed them, and I went out and got another pair, which is weird because I like new stuff. I'd rather try something new, but this I felt was something I wanted to keep in my collection. They're on ear, right? Meaning they sit on your ear, which I don't enjoy for long listening. There are alternative pad designs and shapes that Grado in fact uses on some of its higher end ones. That might give you a little more breathability, a little more air here. It does change the sound signature. This will make it a little thinner, a little more delicate. You might like that. I find it not so great, a little grating. I in fact find these generally a little bit grating, but I think that's just true for me. I get fatigued by kind of sharp things, sharp highs. These things are very, very easy to drive using their yield standard 3.5 jack here. You plug them right into your phone, right into your laptop, and they sound really good. They drive really easily. Now, if you want to put them on an amp, you certainly can. I found that with sort of precision-oriented sounds like the Monolith THX DAC amp that I have, they actually didn't benefit. They almost sounded worse to me. I felt like they were trying too hard for what they were really capable of. But then I also tried them on a couple of tube amps, and I thought they sounded really good. They were like soulmates, you know, kind of. They had the warm and fuzzies for each other. So, yeah, just fun, exciting sound, and at $100, I think something that I recommend and I continue to enjoy even when I have theoretically much more sophisticated speakers, headphones, speakers too. Okay, let's move up the food chain, as it were, to the Sennheiser HD6XX. This is a Sennheiser drop, formerly mass drop collaboration. This is a very popular product for drop and a very popular product for Sennheiser. The 600 series is well loved and well regarded. These are based, I believe, on the HD650s. They are, you know, in the drop fashion, somewhat cost optimized, but the build is nice and sturdy, and these things are light, and you can wear them, I find, you know, for very extended listening sessions very comfortably. Since we are moving up the food chain, we now have removable cords, which is great if you want to do alternative cabling or run balanced, which I do feel these benefit from slightly, as I feel many headphones do. Sound, you know, you really feel like when you go from something like the Grado that's just, you know, audio, just a full force of audio coming at you, of sort of thick single stream of audio, that now it's a bunch of little elements that you can start to separate and pick out, and you sort of listen, focus your attention around and pick up on different elements in the performance. Much broader soundstage, gets wider, the elements, yeah, really kind of separate. A lot of folks have noted that these present vocals really nicely, really kind of clear and forward with a lot of detail, and I think that's true. If you like vocal-centric music, I think these are definitely something to check out. That being said, I think it's almost a little bit at a disadvantage to the rest of the sound signature. I think the vocals kind of crowd things out a little bit for me because they come so far forward and are so positioned in prominence. I also think these have a little bit of a dry sound, especially depending on how you're amping them, and they do take a bit of power to run. I mean, especially compared to something like a Grado. Like you're not running these very successfully off of just the headphone jack on your laptop or phone. They really do need an amp, and they really benefit from that. And what's interesting about them is depending on how you amp them, they can sound very different. Like some headphones, you plug them into a couple different sources, and they kind of just sound like how they sound, maybe a little one way or a little the other. These really change. Like if you are putting these on a really sort of acute, focused, very detail-oriented solid-state system, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that experience. It's going to be crisp and tight. And if you put them on a more warmer solid state or a tube, you're going to hear that warmth come through to a limit. I think these are somewhat, like I said, somewhat dry, somewhat clinical, a little clean sounding for me. I like something that's a bit more musical. It's a cheap cheap descriptor, but hopefully you know what I mean. I mean, these are a little less smooth, right? Tons of detail to appreciate and enjoy, but a little less smooth for me. So yeah, I think these are going for about $200-ish. They change prices because it's drop, and that's what they do. Sometimes cheaper. But yeah, I think, again, a really great headphone for the money. Okay, continuing our tour of open back dynamic driver headphones. Last but not least on the Magical Mystery Tour here is the Focal Elex, another drop collaboration, this time with Focal, a very high-end manufacturer of delicious and wonderful headphones. This guy, I think, goes for about $600 now. When it debuted, it was about $700, but they've since lowered the price. I like to get a lot of my gear used, let somebody else incur that initial cost hit, which is the case here. I think for the money, even if you were to go out and pay a drop for it and buy it new, I think it's massive value, which is crazy to say for $600, but if you're into this stuff, if you're into the crazy audio thing, where the prices can go, and that's wildly enough not crazy. But if you sort of think about these things or experiencing them within the context of some of the other headphones we've looked at today, so the Grados, are fun and they're fast, but they're just kind of shouting at you. It's one kind of continuous thing, and then the Sennheisers are very analytical and kind of very sciencey. These for me are really the most sort of balanced and musical. They've got the detail, they've got the soundstage, they've got those those sort of levels of refinement that you expect from a high-end headphone, but they also feel rich and they just feel effortless. It just doesn't feel like they're trying hard. They're not trying to make a point. And that's beautiful. It's like the music's just really coming through. They do have a lot of warmth, which is a characteristic that I appreciate a lot in a headphone. But it's also fun to really like dial into the different instrumentations. Vocals, I think, sound brilliant on these things. They kind of hit all the marks. The build is nice. It's not incredible, if I'm honest, but it's nice. They're very comfortable to wear. They've got the removable cables as well. These ones use a very standard 3.5-inch jack, so lots of cabling options for them. They do come with a balanced cable, which is pretty nice, but the cable itself I found pretty annoying. It's kind of flat and stiff, so I've opted for a replacement for that guy. But yeah, these things, they give you kind of what you want out of the listening experience. So let's review. Let's bring back our cast of friends here. So we got the Grados, we got the Sennys, we got the Focals. Who do you love? I love them all. I love them all for different reasons at different prices. Like I said, this isn't really a head-to-head comparison. These aren't a logical group to cross-shop necessarily. What I was hoping to do here is just sort of give an overview, an overarching picture of this category, under the $1,000 mark. Kind of what can you expect at the different price points? What are some of the really fun and unique and interesting sounding headphones within this group? And what I find so fascinating is how you can take basically the same typology of headphone, you can take the same primary design, that these are going to be open air, that they're going to use the basic formula of a dynamic driver, and then you can get 3 completely different listening experiences outside of build quality and outside of any of that surface stuff. Just the sound signature, what you hear is so vastly different, and they're each really intriguing in their own way. So that is going to wrap it up. Thank you guys for hanging out. If you made it all the way through, really appreciate it. If you liked it, give it a like. If you didn't, give me a comment. Let me know. What can we do different? I do think I'm going to do a few more of these over my time as an audio junkie. I have found a couple things to be true, which I'd like to share. A couple of videos I wish I'd seen before I put dollars in certain places. So anyway, subscribe and stay up to date with me. I'll try to put a few more videos in the feed over time here. Yeah, this is Adrian, Signcraft, signing out.